Hello everybody and welcome back. This last week, Ole Gunnar Solskjær spoke about the chance of signing Erling Haaland for 20 million by triggering his release clause, and he also spoke about his willingness to sign Declan Rice and Man United. So I asked myself, what could have been if actually Ole Gunnar Solskjær got those two players? Let's check it out. Okay, so we're gonna be doing this in FM23, and the first thing we're doing is sending Ten Hag back to Ajax and appointing Ole Gunnar Solskjær as the manager of Man United. Next, we're gonna be undoing the transfers that I'm pretty sure are Erik Ten Hag's transfers. So we're sending Anthony back for 95 million to Ajax. We're also sending Lisandro Martinez back to Ajax, and we are sending Tyrone Malacia to Feyenoord. But we have also two incoming transfers that we're gonna be doing. We're gonna taking Erling Haaland for 20 million to Man City, and don't worry, we paid them back the difference, so it's like they never bought the player. So it's gonna be interesting to see what are they gonna do about it. How are they gonna replace the missing cyborg? And we also got Declan Rice from West Ham for the amount of money that he was actually transferred to Arsenal, and throwing in another 5 million on top just to make sure, because we're Man United, so we're gonna be overpaying for stuff, right? In the parallel universe, maybe Sabitzer or Casemiro wouldn't have been brought in, but I'm leaving everything else as is, so let's see how it's gonna go. Before the end of the transfer window, Ole addressed the missing Tyrone Malacia and Anthony by bringing in Juan Bernat on loan from PSG and buying Marco Asensio from Real Madrid for 30 million up to 35. And Man City addressed the gaping hole in front of their attack by bringing another cyborg called Victor Osimhen. So it's gonna be really interesting. Victor Osimhen and Erling Haaland in Man United Man City. What's gonna happen? Due to an injury, Erling Haaland could not participate in the first 3 games of the season for Man United, but Ole Gunnar Solskjær got 3 very respectable results. One against West Ham 1-0, one against Crystal Palace 2-0, and got a draw against Liverpool at home. By the time Christmas came, Erling Haaland managed to score 11 goals and had 1 assist in 14 appearances for Man United, which meant that Man United are now second in the English Premier League. Item points, with Liverpool lost only 2 games. So are we maybe having a title challenge? Well, despite the fact that Erling Haaland managed to score 28 goals in 48 appearances for Man United and Declan Rice delivered 15 assists, only 12 of Erling Haaland's goals came in the league, where he managed to score just 12 and finished 13th. And by the way, he scored a goal every 2 games, 181 minutes for a goal. But if you wonder where he scored the other goals, well, he won the Golden Boot in the UEFA Europa League by scoring 11 in 12 appearances, which unfortunately was not really enough for Man United to win the competition, because they got knocked out in the semi-final by Lazio by the most Ole Gunnar Solskjær way, on penalties. And despite the fact Liverpool were just too good and they couldn't keep the pace and lost the title by 10 points, Ole Gunnar Solskjær sees Man United actually managed to win a trophy this season. They won the FA Cup against Newcastle after extra time. So, trophy, second in the league, Europa League semi-final. Not too bad, not too bad. In order to help his team to maybe challenge for the title next season, during the transfer window in the winter, Ole Gunnar Solskjær brought in Pedro, a striker from Brazil, who managed to play 8 games and scored 3 goals, and also brought in Kefren Thuram by the end of the season, a 22-year-old, very perspective, young French center mid. Juan Bernat was brought in a permanent deal for 12 million, which sounds like a pretty good piece of business. Gianluca Scamacca was bought for 60 million from West Ham. I'm not really sure about that one. You have Pedro, you have Erling Haaland. Okay, good stuff. And also Omar Soulé, a defender from Salzburg. Eric Buy, Donny van de Beek and Tim Martial were all let go. But unfortunately for Ole and his boys, they weren't starting the season very hot. They lost the Community Shield against Liverpool, they drew away against Tottenham. Okay, they won against Crystal Palace and Erling Haaland managed to score 2 goals in this game, but they drew against Chelsea, with Scamacca scoring the only goal for them, and they lost to Man City, which meant that at the beginning of the season they were 14th after playing 4 games. Fortunately, things were looking a bit better for them. The time Christmas came, they were now 3rd, and yeah, they were 7 points behind Man City. This is kind of expected, isn't it? And keeping in mind the bad start of the season, Erling Haaland was now sharing the first place in terms of goals scored with Lautaro Martinez, who's in Man City, and Wout Weghorst playing for Aston Villa, who were actually 4th. But despite the fact they lost twice against Real Madrid in the Champions League, they were actually 2nd and through to the next round. Well, only to get knocked out by Atletico Madrid on penalties and to finish 4th in the league, but okay. It's in front of Liverpool, so maybe it's not that bad. But Erling Haaland scored only 18 goals, so he's not that much of a scoring machine right now, is he? Another season of Champions League football meant that Ole is still at the wheel. and he actually managed to do some good transfer business again. Pedro was sold with 20 million revenue to Real Madrid. Gianluca Scamacca, they got rid of him at roughly the same price they bought him. Leroy Sané was brought in from Bayern. He was now 28 years old, a pretty good player. Arda Güler from Fenerbahce for a pretty decent price, and a young perspective goalkeeper. The beginning of season was way better than last time, and they won their first 3 games. With 2 games in hand, they were 4th, which means that maybe this is their season. Nah, sorry, not really. Finishing second again, this time behind Man City. 5 points, Erling Haaland with 17 goals, still can't win the Golden Boot. Something's not really going well here. They also got knocked out by Bayern in the Champions League round of 16 and also lost in the semi-final of the FA Cup to Liverpool. This meant that, yeah, there's gonna be another season with Champions League football, but no trophy. And then we had a huge surprise. A 25-year-old Anthony, who was bought for 110 million by Real Madrid, is now making a return to Old Trafford, where he was purchased but never played. This time, he's arriving for 35 million. Is this the signing that's gonna make Man United champions? Well, I'm pretty sure we all knew the answer to this, and this right now is the worst season that Ole Gunnar Solskjær had as a head coach of Man United. Yes, he still is the manager, but I'm pretty sure he's quite close to being fired. And that comes on top of a season where Anthony actually was not the worst player ever. He managed to have 17 goals and 6 assists. Erling Haaland scored 27 and assisted 8. Bruno Fernandes, still one of the most prolific players from Man United, so is Marcus Rashford. Declan Rice, still playing a very integral part of this team, and this is how the team of Ole looks now. And despite the fact that the beginning of his 5th season was okay-ish, losing at home against Chelsea, but winning away against Newcastle and Tottenham, winning against Leicester, draw against Southampton, I was kinda concerned that this is going absolutely nowhere, and Ole is not gonna be long at the wheel. But I was wrong. A win against Liverpool in the FA Cup final on penalties brought another trophy to Man United, and despite the fact that they got knocked out by Olympique Lyon on penalties in the quarterfinal of the Europa League, and they finished 5th, which actually was a Champions League spot, meant that Ole is gonna have another season to try. It was the best season for Erling Haaland so far. He scored 39 goals and had 9 assists in 48 appearances, and Anthony had 19 goals with 14 assists, so bringing in Anthony maybe was a good idea. They also brought in Karim Adeyemi from Borussia Dortmund for 104 million, which for a player with his ability, I'm not quite sure, but maybe he's gonna play on the flank, he's gonna be playing through the middle. I don't know, we're gonna see. Season number 6 finally saw Erling Haaland winning the Golden Boot in the Premier League by scoring 22 goals, which is 4 more than Kai Havertz. He also was 3rd in Player of the Match awards. I don't know, 8 points behind Liverpool. It's been just Man City Liverpool so far. Nobody else managing to win the title. There was also another huge signing, this time Youssoufa Moukoko from Borussia Dortmund, again for 100 million. He joined in, he scored 2 goals in 16 appearances, but I'm not really sure, is he gonna be a replacement of Erling Haaland? Is he gonna be changing the system? I don't know. Well, it looks like that Erling Haaland actually suffered a pretty bad injury, so bringing in Moukoko was a good idea. At the end of the season, Haaland had 7 goals in 17 appearances and Moukoko scored 16. Most goals by Marcus Rashford, and you're pretty sure where this is going. They finished 5th in the Premier League, which not too bad. Champions League football again. This time they got to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, knocked out by PSG. Cannot blame them for that. Didn't do anything in the domestic trophies, so a pretty average performance so far. Are Man United becoming a Spurs? And then I decided that it's time to stir things up a bit, and I imported the save in FM24, but the most noticeable result was that Erling Haaland had 7 individual instances of injuries, and he was out for a combined of 20 weeks during the next season, which meant that, yet again, Youssoufa Moukoko was taking his place. Marcus Rashford played 50 games, despite the fact that Erling Haaland was out for so many games and maybe never managed to build match fitness. He also scored 15. Well, things are not really looking great so far. It was another season of finishing 4th, it was another season without a trophy, it was another season getting knocked out in the Champions League quarterfinal. Well, maybe it's not too bad. Maybe getting to the later stages of the Champions League and finishing in the top 4 all the time is not that bad. but I don't know. I'm pretty sure that theoretically what Man United fans and board should be striving for is something a bit bigger. Well, bigger and better it didn't get. They finished 5th in the 9th season of Ole Gunnar Solskjær when he came back. Yeah, they have 75 points, which is, by the way, a point behind second. So if they managed to get 2 points more, they would have been second. It is just 7 points behind Man City, and if it was not actually to a loss against Chelsea in the last round, they would have been second. Now, would have been, could have been another Champions League quarter-final exit, this time again against PSG, despite the fact that they won the home game 3-2. Erling Haaland with another set of 10+ injuries, individual injuries, with 2 major, half of them moderate. Things were not really looking good for him. By the way, what do you think? Is this something that we should expect? Like, yes, now that he's in Man City, he's kinda managed. The minutes that he's playing are managed, but in the long run, is this what really awaits him? And as last couple of seasons, Marcus Rashford and Youssoufa Moukoko were covering for when he was actually absent. We also gotta acknowledge the fact that Anthony, in terms of average rating, is up there. And season number 10 finally saw Ole Gunnar Solskjær getting fired from Man United. He spent quite a lot of time, and this time, yeah, they finished 8th, but he was replaced some point during the season. Erling Haaland, despite the fact that he was supposed to be in his prime right now, is not really playing that much. Maybe thanks due to injuries, maybe thanks due to the better form of Moukoko in front of goal. Declan Rice has been an absolute gem for the Man United midfield. He had only 1 season going below 7.1 average rating, and it's fair to say that a pretty decent servant. Now, question is, what do you think really would have happened if Ole Gunnar Solskjær was backed properly, and maybe they listened to him and they bought Erling Haaland, and maybe they used the money to get Declan Rice? I don't know. Was this a good run for him? I can't really say. Yeah, they played a lot of Champions League football. They got to 3 quarterfinals, 1 semi-final, 2 FA Cup trophies. Never won a title. 2 second places. I really don't feel that's too good, but keeping in mind how Man United is actually doing in real life after Sir Alex Ferguson retired, I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below.